Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to the SFC interviews, episode number 98. Here with former Stevenage man Trevor Metcalfe today. So, first of all, Trevor, how are you? And we'll touch on obviously when you joined the club as well back in the 1980-81 season, and just tell us about how that sort of move came about for you as well.
Yeah, sure. I've been playing locally since I was 16, 1976, and Stevenage went defunct, and I think about that time when somebody dug up the pitch and the old Stevenage Athletic, and then the Stevenage Borough were reborn about 78 or 79 and played at King George's. I believe it was a Wolfspan combination.
Okay.
Where they started, but the first season I came was 1980 in the United Counties League Division 1 at Broadhill Way.
Yeah.
I knew the reason I came. I had connections. I knew Paul Peterson quite well, and Derek Montgomery, who was the manager at the time, I knew well, and I played with them both previously as well.
Okay.
So natural progression took me to Stevenage in 1980. Yeah.
And of course, that was an interesting time for the football club as well. And of course, you mentioned there, obviously, with the King George's, and then obviously moving to Broadhill Way. And what was that like? The kind of little bit of, I suppose, not upheaval really, but moving from actually playing on a field really to an actual proper stadium.
Yeah, I didn't actually play in the Wolfspan for Stevenage. The first season I actually joined was when we played at Broadhill Way, 1980.
Yeah.
But it was obviously quite a big progression for a lot, and playing in front of a reasonable crowd at Broadhill Way was a big progression for most of us. We hadn't really experienced that week in, week out before, so it was very exciting times. Yeah, you really felt you'd made it. When you're playing at Stevenage in front of all those fans, it was a brilliant time. Probably the best time I had in football, especially the first season when we won the double. So that was great, yeah. And I was joint top scorer with Danny Dance that season.
That's right, yeah. When I was doing my research, I did notice that. And of course, winning the double there as well in your first season, we've got to touch on that as well, because, that's pretty much where it all started for Stevenage. And then obviously, from there on in, it's kind of gone on a bit of a crazy ride, hasn't it?
Absolutely unbelievable. When I look at what's happened to Stevenage over the past 20 odd years or 30, no, we're talking longer than that, aren't you? But the progression they've made from United Counties League Division 1 or Wolfspan combination as it was before that, right up to Division 1 of football. And funnily enough, I've always been a Luton Town supporter, actually, which won't go down with a lot of your listeners. But, and I used to play, and I used to listen to Luton results. And they were playing in the old Division 1, which was the top division from 1982 to 1992. So it wouldn't have been quite then. They were in the division below that in 1980, just about to go up. So Luton have come all the way down from the top division of the Football League down to the conference, and Stevenage have gone all the way up from United Counties League to eventually playing two divisions above Luton. They were playing in Division 1, as it is now, which is the third tier.
Yeah.
And Luton were playing in the conference. I couldn't believe the switch, because when I was playing, it was like Luton were the team. But then
they were a very sort of dominant force in football. Yeah.
Yeah, but then Stevenage obviously just took over and became we started playing two divisions above Luton. Of course, we've crossed paths a few times, and Stevenage have played Luton a few times in recent history in the league and things like that. So it's been a very interesting period. Yeah.
And of course, you mentioned there obviously being a Luton fan as well. So obviously, we've got to kind of touch on Luton a little bit before we kind of go a little bit more into your time at Stevenage. And they're flying high at the minute as well. And yeah, I bet you're living the dream as well, potentially Premier League next season.
Unbelievable progression. Nathan Jones came back to the club, and to be in contention of a place in the Premiership is just to be in a chance of getting in the playoffs is incredible for a club Luton size now. I mean, when they were playing in the old top division before, between 82 and 92, it wasn't all money orientated. Teams like Luton, Oxford, other teams could progress to that level and compete. But nowadays, really, I mean, Brentford have done well, but it doesn't happen very often. And, it's all money orientated. But with Luton, I mean, it's a new ground. It's all about the new ground in 2 or 3 years being built. And, hopefully with a 25,000 seated stadium, they can actually survive, at least in the Championship anyway. So, yeah, I went to the game this year between Stevenage and Luton, and Stevenage looked like they had a decent team, to be quite honest. They deservedly beat Luton that day. That was I think it was in the League Cup.
Yeah, I remember. I was behind the goal. Where the penalties were being taken. I was behind the goal. That goal that day in the new stand. Yeah.
Yeah, Stevenage won quite easily on penalties. I forgot I remember that day. And, Luton really didn't play well in the match. Stevenage deserved to win the game before that. So I'm quite surprised what's actually happened this season. It's a little bit of a struggle at the moment, isn't it? So hopefully they'll pull through and get out of relegation trouble.
And we'll talk about that in a little while as well. But we're going back to your own time at Stevenage and the debut there as well. Obviously, your debut was against, is it Owen?
Checknuts or something.
Yeah,
that's some funny names.
Some funny names, obviously. Yeah. And then after that, that game, obviously, we won that game, and then we went on a really 3-1, I think it was 3-1, and then went on a really good run, and obviously was successful that season. And obviously you mentioned there about being alongside Danny Dance in regards to the top goal scorer that season. And of course, for a centre forward, that's something that you would have been looking at, no doubt, in pre-season. If you had much of a pre-season that time, and sort of just wanting to hit the ground running, basically.
Yeah, we got 29 goals each. I remember we went into the cup final level, and we got a goal each in the cup final at the end of the season. So it was probably fair the way it panned out. Danny used to have his long flowing blonde hair on the wing, and I was just in the middle. Yeah, knocking out all his good work, knocking the ball in the net. Sometimes he did it all himself. That's why he got so many as well. But no, we had some really good players. Martin Gittins was just coming through then. He was quite a late developer, actually. He's about a year or two younger than me, I think. But he wasn't actually in the first team then. He was just sort of about to get in, And he was coming through in the early 80s and to establish himself in the first team, and then he's gone on what he has, and he is Stevenage's greatest striker of all time, basically, isn't he? His goal scoring proves it, really. Yeah,
the goal scoring record is something else. 217 in, I'm not too sure whatever it is. It's about 300 games. It's a phenomenal record anyway, and of course, with Martin, we'll touch on him now a little bit as well, because obviously, he's had a lot to deal with personally and everything like that. And, it was just nice, obviously, earlier this season, although obviously it ended in a bit of on a bit of a downward spiral with obviously what happened with the Barnet player. Obviously, thankfully, he was okay. But, obviously to have the game for him and obviously the golf days and everything like that. And there's actually a rearranged game as well. So they're actually going to be taking on a fans team at the end of the season in about a couple of months' time.
I saw that. Yeah, that should be good. I saw that. Yeah, actually, I used to play with his brother Peter. Peter was a really good player as well. Peter Gittins. I don't know if you're aware of him.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
He was in the team in the 80s, and he went the same year as me and was there for 2 or 3 seasons. Very good midfield player, Peter. I always thought he could have gone a bit further in football, but he didn't. Obviously, circumstances. I don't know what happened, but he was a great player. Really skillful midfield player he was. So, and then Martin came in, and I played with him, on quite a few occasions, Martin. But you'd have never believed that I mean, he was a talented lad, no doubt about it. But the progression he made to become the player he was is phenomenal, really. So he probably progressed about the same level as Stevenage did. He basically was the one player that went progressed through all the leagues really.
Yeah.
With the club, I don't think he actually played in the Football League.
No, he didn't. Which that's the only thing that when you look back on it is a regret really for people that have followed Stevenage for a while. Is it would have been lovely to see him play league football. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, they were great times, and the crowds. The cup-on. I think we had about 1,300. I know it's not great by today's standards, but for us playing in front of 1,300 fans, it was. And a regular sort of 500, 600, 700 abroad or away for league games was really, it's brilliant. It was, as I say before, you felt like you'd really arrived doing it, but we were playing teams with obscure names like Geddington, Montrose and Thrapston Ventures and teams like that, which you'd never even heard of, But the second season, when we went up to the Premier League, there were some decent teams. You had teams like Stamford and Earthling Borough. Earthling Borough were a separate team from Rushden then. So it was Rushden Town and Earthling Borough Diamonds. And then, of course,
they combined.
Rushden and Diamonds.
Yeah.
And then their sad demise as well in the last, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, wasn't it? They went defunct.
Yeah.
So that was a bit sad. But, I used to play against them sort of sides, and they were... they were quite. It was a good standard of football then, So, and then obviously I went through the Isthmian League, didn't they? Right through the leagues. I was back in the Isthmian League under Frank Cornwall, and I might have still been United Counties then, but certainly Brian Williams when he came for a short spell, that was in the Isthmian League. Yeah, so they were my sort of 3 spells at the club. First under Derek Montgomery and Paul Peterson, then Frank Cornwall. And then rest in peace, Frankie sadly passed away, didn't he? So
it was quite recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then Brian Williams, who's still around, must be in his 80s now. But he was there for a short spell. But nothing really much. We were in the Isthmian League, but it didn't really start going, I think, until Paul Fairclough took over, was it? And then he really started going up. I think it was then. Maybe I've got my facts wrong a little bit there, but then it went through the Isthmian League, Premier Division, then into the conference.
Yeah, no, that is right with the facts as well. And then obviously we had the cup run as well when we faced off with Newcastle and everything like that. Obviously beating Swindon and Cambridge along the way.
Yeah, that was a great cup run. Yeah, I've got a lot of connections at Newcastle. I remember watching that. It was brilliant that performance. Yeah. Well done. That's one thing Luton have got in common. A great game, FA Cup game against Newcastle, which Luton had back in the 90s. To the semi-final. So both teams played Newcastle. That was brilliant. Yeah.
And then just in regards to, it says, we've had a question in regards to your best game that you played in for Stevenage, and the one that really stands out for me when I was doing my research and looking into it, and obviously I think we spoke about it as well. Was the game that is still even on record today as the record win, the 11-1 win over the British Timken side.
Yeah, Timken Athletic, wasn't it? Yeah, 11-1. I got a hat-trick that game. It was a great win. As I say, the teams really, for what we were playing in front of, the teams were not that spectacular. But you still got to do it, to put 11 goals past anybody is pretty decent going, and it is great to be, remembered as the biggest ever win. Also, I went and saw Pro Goal. I think I'm either 7th or 8th top goal scorer, which I'm pretty proud about as well of all time. And we got a picture up of us in what's that pub in the Old Town?
Yes, we spoke about it. The pub at the end of the Old Town, towards the bridge over towards Tesco's, that pub at the end there. Yeah. They got
a photo of the 1980s team in there. I've tried to buy it off them a couple of times, but I didn't have it. But that was brilliant as well. But yeah, little story. I told you this one as well. Everybody might laugh at, between Stevenage and Luton. I've been going to a few of the games Stevenage and Luton over the time, and we played one particular game at Stevenage, and I couldn't get a ticket in the Luton end. They'd sold out, so we had to go with the Stevenage fans, and nobody, obviously the young lads today wouldn't recognise me, so but we were in there, and of course it's difficult really to totally contain yourself. You do, and I obviously was following Luton, so Luton took the lead, and it was noticed who we were, but we were pretty quiet. But then Stevenage equalised, and there was a bit of jostling going on. There was a few of us, and they were jostling us around a bit. And then, anyway, Luton scored a winner in the last minute.
Yeah,
I think it was the guy that actually came, Wilkinson. I think he came.
Yeah, Luke Wilkinson. He later played at Stevenage. Yeah.
Yeah, and he scored the winner in the last minute. And of course, we were a little bit more boisterous then, and the stewards came and got hold of us and took us out of the ground. I said, hang on a minute, I used to play for this. All the crowd gave it a bit of stick, saying they wouldn't have it, So it was quite a funny moment. So I was ejected from the ground.
Oh, wow.
Right in the last minute of one of the games because I cheered a Luton goal. Sorry about that. I do apologise because I always look out for Stevenage. I like to see him do well. That was my favourite time playing there, and I, always look out for their results. So all's good in the end.
That's quite an interesting story. Though. Obviously, we spoke about it, didn't we? But obviously the stewards there at the time, obviously, they're just doing their job and whatever else. But
of course they are. Yeah,
they obviously don't know that.
It doesn't matter who I am. I would have chucked me out if I'd done that. It doesn't matter. That's being disrespectful, going in a, clapping an away team scoring.
Yeah.
Very, no, I deserved it. But it's quite a funny story when you look back at it, really. When I'm begging my old fans for forgiveness, for clapping another team's goal. But no, it's good. Stevenage have had some good results against us. Luton had the upper hand early on, but
there's the one game that I look at. Well, in fact, there's two games. One was a Stevenage win when Scott Laird scored at Kenilworth Road, right in front of the Stevenage fans. And then there's the one, unfortunately, I think it was a Luton win 7-1 or something like that. Yeah. 7-1
or 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at that game, yeah. Stevenage did actually win it. That might have been the game. I think they may have won 2-0 at Luton, actually.
There's a couple of 2-0 wins as well, yeah. Yeah,
which eventually got Luton relegated, but they were going anyway. But Stevenage put the nail in the coffin. I think it was. I think Luton needed to win by about 5 the last game of the season or something.
Oh, really?
Stevenage won 2-0, so it was on the cards anyway. So.
I remember that game because that was when young Ben Kennedy scored, and I think he ran. I think he might have scored in front of the Luton fans, but he basically ran like the whole length of the pitch to celebrate.
Oh, did he? Right.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, I remember that. So Irish Ben Kennedy, who's now, I think, he's playing back over in Ireland now, but he was coming through the academy at Stevenage and played in the first team as well. And he loved a goal against Luton. He loved playing against Luton because he's a Stevenage.
Yeah. Ex-players didn't go to you, so there's been a bit of movement between the two clubs. But
even now, Scotty Cuthbert, the captain, obviously is ex-Luton as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's a good player, very good player. Yeah, I don't know if he's carried on doing well, but he was very good at Luton.
And of course, as we're kind of talking about Stevenage and Luton a little bit, I know we've kind of gone off topic, but Ronnie Henry, the record appearance holder at Stevenage, was a Luton player for a little while, wasn't he, as well? But then obviously he came back. Yeah.
Yeah. Wilkinson, they were good players for Luton. They really did well. Yeah. Must be some scouting between the two clubs, I'd imagine. It's a bit of movement there, isn't there? So I hope you stay up this year. I mean, is the new manager half decent?
He's only just taken charge. He's only had his first game at the weekend, which was a 2-1 defeat against Exeter, who are flying. They're doing really well. They're I think second in the table. And it was a game that Stevenage were quite unlucky to lose in, actually. It was one of those ones where it was basically a bit of dodgy refereeing that kind of cost Stevenage getting a point, I think, really. Yeah.
Well, let's just keep our fingers crossed. And I get down there sometimes, not too often, but when I can, I'll pop over and have a look. So I'll be there again, no doubt, shortly to see how they're getting on, and just hope they can survive the season and start again fresh next year.
Absolutely. It's been a topsy-turvy sort of season in terms of, obviously the club starting pretty well, obviously beating Barrow, beating Luton, and then obviously beating Bristol Rovers, which is still the only away win this season as well. And then it's kind of gone downhill from there with obviously 3 different managers now. This is the 3rd manager that's just come in.
Right. So let's just hope they do it. Keep your fingers crossed. Good luck.
But just going back to, we kind of touched a little, we touched a lot really on your time there. But obviously, 53 goals in, what was it? I think it's 97 starts as a Stevenage player. It's a really good record, a phenomenal record really as well, that one.
Yeah. I managed to get over 100 appearances, but a few were sub, weren't they?
Sub, yeah.
Yeah, so I managed to get over 100 appearances. But the first game, what was I going to say? Hang on, somebody shout, my little one shout.
That's all right, mate. Yeah, no, you're okay.
No, go on.
No, I was just going to say, obviously, that for a striker, that's a phenomenal record. And
I was pleased with the goals, but they dried up a bit the second season. I think I got about 13 or 14 out of 29 in the first season. So, as I say, the standard wasn't great in the UCL Division 1, if I'm honest, but I always got a lot of goals locally, and still proud of the fact of the goal scoring record. 1 in 2 games as a striker. That's what you aim for, isn't it? 1 in 2 games. So over the course of the 3 spells that I had, and probably over 4 seasons, I'd imagine, on and off, was I was pretty proud of that record. And as I say, when I see it in the programme that I'm 7th or 8th top scorer, that is, with all the Football League players.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So that really, proud of that. Yeah, it's great.
And of course, you said there about the over 100 appearances as well for the football club. That's another big achievement as well.
Yeah, I don't know how many players have made over 100 appearances. I don't know. I'd imagine quite a few have, haven't they?
There's probably been, probably a fair amount, but I don't know really, because lately, the last, I don't know how many seasons, it seems to be quite a lot of turnover at the club. It seems to be, a full release list every season, where there's like 12, 15 players being released at the end of every season at the moment.
Is there really? So really, there's not as many as you may think.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Graham Cox, somebody else you had on, I played with him briefly as well for a season. I think he made over 100, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He was captain for a while as well, yeah.
Yeah. Did he go on to the conference, or was he just in the Isthmin?
I haven't actually spoke to him yet, which is going to be probably later on today or tonight. Yeah. And it's probably going to be later tonight, I guess. But I don't think he actually did go on to conference. I think it was just before the conference. But I'll have to double check that before I speak to him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good player, midfield player as well. And Trevor Parker sends his best wishes to Martin Gittins as well. So I saw him a couple of weeks ago. He lives in America now. He played with him quite a lot. So Trevor Parker.
The name rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, he played at Hitchin and played with Martin quite a lot. So I saw him a couple of weeks ago. He said send his regards on. So so I just it's all very sad about Martin. So I just hope that these events go well for him and all the fundraising and everything. And if there's anything I can do, I'll be obviously willing and available. If anything crops up that they need ex-players, even from the United Counties League days.
Yeah.
So, that'd be good.
But even just talking about Martin there as well, one thing that obviously this season, what was a really nice touch from the club, was he was invited to the Bristol Rovers game, and he was there with his son Sam, and I'm not too sure if there was other family members there, but I know Sam was there with him as well. And it was just a nice touch really to have him there and to kind of be introduced back to the fans at half time. Even though we lost 4-0 on that day, that was kind of the standout moment from that sort of that match. Really was, nothing on the field of play at the day on the day, but more what was going on sort of off the pitch at half time.
Yeah. I hope everything goes well, and I know he's not too great at the moment, is he? So, let's hope we can make these events really nice for him, and a lot of people turn up and we raise a lot of money. So that'd be great.
Absolutely. And he was there, as I said, for that Bristol Rovers game, and he is going to be in attendance apparently for the fans game against the old players as well. So that's that'd be nice. That should be nice. Hopefully everything's okay and he's able to be there for that. Yeah.
What date is that on?
It's May. It's May I'll have to confirm this. It's towards the start of May. I'll send you a message and let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Get down there to see that.
Yeah. I'll let you know. I definitely will. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
So then we're just trying to kind of touch on the way of the football club a little bit at the moment. Obviously, we talked about staying up and everything like that. And with the clubs that are sort of around Stevenage at the minute, obviously, all the Premier League clubs of Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, etc., as well as the likes of Luton as well, who are obviously on a rise at the moment. Obviously, Fulham are going to be up there in the Premier League probably as well. So it's just, if there's, what was I going to say? Basically, it's very important that Stevenage stay in the Football League, isn't it? Because of the amount of other clubs surrounding the area.
Yes, it is. And there's a lot of connection with the fans there, and it is. Stevenage is very much a London overflow, I know, and there are a lot of Arsenal Tottenham fans in Stevenage, but a lot of them have, that I've even spoke to have they support Stevenage now,
Yeah.
They're not, they've come out and they've come to live there, and that's their team, although they've obviously got an affinity with these big clubs, especially those two. They really, it really would be sad if they did go down again, and then it's going to be a battle to get out of that conference. I mean, Luton took about 4 or 5 years to get out of it. There's no given right to get yourself back in the Football League. You have to really battle, and that conference has got a lot of ex-Football League teams in it now, and they're all battling. They all feel they deserve to be there. So you're right. It is really important that Stevenage stay in the league this year and then crack on again next year, and hopefully the new manager can push them forward, to at least not get in a struggle anymore.
And of course, the club could have easily gone down and probably should have gone down a couple of years ago when Bury and Macclesfield ended up going out of business as well. So these last few seasons, obviously last season was more of a successful one, obviously finishing mid-table, but the last couple of seasons...
That was a bit of payback, that one where they got away with it. Stevenage, there was a time when they didn't go up because their facilities weren't up to scratch from the conference.
That's right, yeah.
League, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, so really, in a way, that was a payback for that time, really. That's the way I see that one. So, they deserve to stay in the league. It must have been very marginal that their ground wasn't up to scratch, because a couple of years later they got in the league, didn't they?
It took a long time. No, it was actually 2011 that we actually got into the league, and that was 1996. So it's a long time.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
was it?
A long time.
Bigger gap than I thought.
Yeah, no, it's a long time.
So there was some major revamping of the ground in that period then.
Yeah, and even now, obviously the new stand as well, the North Stand's only been there. I think it's just this season. Last season. It just opened up. Yeah.
We used to change in port cabins behind the goal in the first season in 1980.
That's when you say that and you talk about that, that's something that when you look at that now, it's just kind of a different world, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. No, the ground looks very tidy now. I thought it looked very nice when I went earlier this season. That was it's come on a long way. Yeah. I drive past it most days, so have a little look when I'm going past. Looks nice. It certainly deserves to be a Football League club, and as I say, it's got a catchment area of fans that there'll always be. What is it now? A couple of 2,000 or 3,000?
Yeah, so that's probably about the average. Yeah.
So I think that will always be the case, and you've got to stay in the league, like you say. That's the main priority this season. So.
And it doesn't get any bigger for Stevenage in that game, obviously, this weekend against Oldham at home as well. We've kind of got to talk about that, because obviously Stevenage just outside the relegation zone, Oldham just in the relegation zone, 3 points difference. And That's like, you know, you say it's a 6-pointer, that's like a 12-pointer game.
Yeah. How many games is it left now?
There's only 8 games remaining as well, so it's literally going to go down. It could go down to the wire, yeah.
Got to win that one then.
Yeah.
That's a must. Yeah, got to get the home games and get results, and then pick up what you can away, really. So, and
especially with the record of the away games this season, 1 win away from home. I think that, you know, we have to win every home game just to be sure.
Yeah. Well, to be certain, but other teams will drop points. But
of course,
hopefully I'll get down for a game towards the end of the season. Get down to one of the home ones, so give them a cheer on. Keep them in the league.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. It's the new manager bounce comes through, obviously, and everything like that as well. Just a couple more questions, not too many really, but the club have always been sort of very community driven and sort of, you know, family club as well. Basically, most recently, obviously during the pandemic, they were very active during that, and you know that was just a typical kind of Stevenage sort of way, wasn't it?
Yeah, they do seem a very family-orientated club. Dare I say, a bit like Watford, really. You know, you've got to give them credit for the fact that they do. They are a very family-orientated club, and Stevenage seem to have taken after them, don't they, in the way they involve families and everything. And that's brilliant at the end of the day. That's what you want to see. And, you know, gone are the days of, hopefully, of the 70s and 80s when I used to go and watch football before I was playing, you know, and, you know, you used to be in trouble at all games. But nowadays it's all family stands, family events.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see at football grounds. That's brilliant, yeah. And it is noticed that Stevenage are very much that way inclined, which is great.
And then just obviously we spoke about the club a little bit there, and obviously the fans as well. You mentioned the fans already, but the fans from obviously when you were there and all the way through to even now, really, you know, play a big part in it as well. And obviously the last few years, obviously this season, fans being back in stadiums, etc., is brilliant. But last season, it would have been just so surreal for players, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the fans were great. I always remember the fans. I see some of them now, actually. I still go down the old town a bit and have a drink in a few of the bars down there, Marcus and Lawn and Coach and Horses.
Yeah.
You sometimes see some of the fans when they've either come back from the game or other times. And, you know, still have a little chat about the old days. And it used to be, you felt like a bit of a superstar at the time, even though you weren't, you know, because you used to go around and people used to come up to you and the kids, and you just really couldn't believe it, to be honest. And it was fabulous that there was that connection, and they've always been great fans at Stevenage, no problem at all. I always tell my Luton friends, you know, you've got to give them a bit of respect, Stevenage, you know, no aggravation. I love Stevenage. I played for them, and even my closest mates always go around and say, you know, he scored that many goals for Stevenage, you know, and all that. So it's all good-hearted at the end of the day.
And then just the last few, really. If you were to give one bit of advice to any sort of younger players coming through, you know, into the game, what sort of bit of advice would you give? And, you know, something that maybe you took on yourself?
Well, if you're serious and you really want to do it, you've got to show up 100% commitment to it. And I think that's probably what happened to us players that didn't quite make it. We were playing for Stevenage. We probably weren't as committed as we should have been 100%, you know what I mean? We like to go and have a drink, and we played Sunday football, which we probably shouldn't have done, and Stevenage were playing Monday nights as well, so we were playing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you know, just love playing football, you know. But really, you know, you've got to look after yourself a bit more. The game's totally different these days. You know, you've got to keep yourself fit and just really, if you really want to make it, you've got to apply. You've got to apply mentally and physically towards getting there. You know, because I mentioned a few. I mean, Danny Dance could have easily played in the football league. There's no doubt about that. And Peter Gittins was there. and he could have easily played in it. There's such a fine line between players that are playing that sort of standard of a non-league football, then going all the way into the Football League and progressing up into the First Division and Premiership. There's a fine line between not making it and making it, and it's your application in your head that will determine whether you do it or not. And I think a lot of us probably didn't quite have that in us to go all the way, at the time. Some players can get away with it. Paul Gascoigne did. George Best did.
Yeah.
You can get away with burning the candle a bit and then going out and playing football. But most of us have to work a bit harder at it, So that would be my advice to any youngsters coming through. If you've got the ability, stick with it, and really, concentrate all your efforts on preparing yourself properly for matches, eating the right foods, doing the right things, keeping yourself fit, training hard, and you'll get there.
Yeah, that's sound advice. There's
a lot of competition out there. There's thousands of kids that want to play at the top level. I mean, my son's team, he played for Chelmsford City, and they were a good, the youth team there.
Yeah.
And they were a good team, and they all looked like they were going to be cracking players, but none of them have ever got anywhere. Well, one's placed for Witham, I think, and that's about it. None of them really went any further.
So when was that? When was he playing for? When was your son playing for the Chelmsford youth team then?
He's 23 now, so he's playing 17, 18.
Oh, so sort of like 5 or 6 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, for Chelmsford City youth, yeah. So, and they did have a good team. They won the league, and they played at the ground there, which is I'm not over keen on it. It's got a running track all around.
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it looked like for all they were going to do something. But when you go around and see some of these kids playing football now, 17, 18, and these London teams, they're enormous. Some of these players. I don't mean fat or anything. They're just physically.
The way that they're built, they're sort of like very muscly and well built. Yeah.
Can you go down and watch it and think, my goodness,
yeah,
quite like that when I used to play. But anyway, no, but I'm sure. I'm sure. Just a bit of application, and that will get you somewhere.
No, that's brilliant. Proper sound advice, that one, and that's excellent. Obviously, the reason I was bringing up Chelmsford, there was actually my mate Jordan was actually manager of the Chelmsford under 19s, whatever it was, a couple of years ago. So I was just wondering if it would have been linking in at the same time, but it wasn't. It was a little bit before.
John Thackeray, his name was. He was a West Ham fan, and he was the manager then.
Yeah, no, it was a guy who was managing a young lad who I know who was managing one of the academy teams. Under because his name's Jordan Stringer, and he was working under Rod Stringer, no relation.
Oh right,
okay. So yeah,
good stuff. Good.
But no, we'll probably wrap it up there, to be honest.
Great.
But no, that's been really enjoyable and great to get some insight and to have a bit of a chat there. Obviously, I think we spoke about it the other day with Peter Shadbolt, just briefly. Obviously, another ex-player that passed away. I think the name you said rang a bell to you. I'm not too sure whether you said he played for you or not. But again, it's another player, obviously, from those days who was very successful and obviously played a big part in the club's history as well, which I just wanted to mention there.
Yeah, no, I remember the name. I can't really remember playing with Peter, to be honest. I might have done. My memory's not great, but very sad news, and condolences to all the fans, family, and everything. So I do know the name. I remember the name, but I can't honestly say I remember too much on the pitch with him too much, to be honest.
No, of course, I'll echo what you said there with the condolences as well, and of course. It's obviously very sad when one of your own really somebody that's played for the football club and been at the football club from those years, even without knowing them personally, it's still very, very sad to lose somebody that has had a success playing for Stevenage.
Definitely agree with that 100%.
So no, thank you very much, Trevor. Appreciate that a lot, mate. That's been excellent.
Right. Yeah, thanks very much. Enjoyed it.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, mate. And
all the Stevenage fans, good luck to you all and the players. And I'm always looking out for your scores.
And hopefully you'll be able to do something for this Martin Gittins game or whatever as well. So
I'll get there.
I'll speak to you about it once I think it's it's May the 7th or something like that. But I'll confirm with you anyway. I'll double check it in a minute and let you know.
Yeah, all right then. No problem.
Nice one. Thanks mate. Cheers.
Cheers,
Mate. Bye.
Bye.